The World Without Visas, Around the World with Valery Shanin. Travel across Turkey became the next stage of the World Without Visas project, within which Valery Shanin travels only around the countries visa-free for Russians. On the travel across Turkey and Northern Cyprus, his fellow travelers were Maynur Klementyeva from the island of Sakhalin, Mikhail Ivanov from Alma-Ata and Marina Osipova from Kaluga. Turkey, tea and culinary delights. Our travel commenced in Istanbul. The biggest and the busiest airports of Turkey are situated here. It is easier, cheaper, and more convenient to fly to this city from Moscow. Istanbul is a city with a 1,000-year-old history, the city of palaces, mosques, parks, fountains, eastern markets, and bustling streets. The bridge connects Sultanakhmet's region with the region of Galatian, which is on the opposite side of the Golden Horn Gulf. Fishermen have been stationed here permanently since long time ago. The fish is sold directly there, under the fishermen. On the ground level of the bridge, there is a long line of cafes, considered for tourists and restaurants. Istiklal Street comes back to life with the nightfall. There are frying kebabs directly in the show window. The sellers' acrobats are evidently enjoying the process of selling ice cream. There is a lot of movement in the shops. Seems like all city has come on this street with the nightfall. Here they have an ancient tram. It's still used for its original purpose, the transportation of passengers. But in the evenings, the tram car receives one more function. It becomes a mobile concert venue. Turkey is a secular country, and although Islam is the state religion, there are no rigid restrictions for women. They are allowed to appear on a stage, and even without a scarf. Generally, the residents of Istanbul are dressed in European-style clothing, both men and women. Only women who are engaged in a traditional business, such as making dough for bread, prefer to dress up traditionally. Shawarma is grilled not in tents or kiosks, but directly there on the sidewalk, nearly under the feet of passers-by. Inadvertently, one can lean on it or bedraggle one's suit or burn oneself. This is definitely East. There is no time to yawn here. Something always happens and it is necessary to react timely. The shops are full, the doors are wide open, the goods are laid across open show windows without any fear that it can be stolen. The high-speed tram, one of the most modern means of transport, it travels not less fast than the subway. On the way to the hotel, Valery tells his fellow travelers what awaits them in the next few days, what it is necessary to be ready for. To travel hitch-hiking, to sleep in a tent, so life would not seem so sweet. Istanbul, a unique city, it is located in two parts of the world at the same time, in Europe and in Asia. Ferries cruise across Bosphorus, separating the European part of Istanbul from the Asian. There is a busy cargo port in the Asian part of Istanbul, and a railway station receiving trains from all the large cities of Anatolia. To Iznik, where our travelers are heading now, the railroad has not been laid yet, but buses regularly go there. To avoid going around the Sea of Marmara, part of the distance they will cover by ferry. Valery warned his travelers' companions that it will be necessary to sleep in tents. Turns out he tricked them. They spent their first night directly under the open sky. The small, less-known town of Iznik was called Nisea in the ancient times, exactly here in the 4th century, where the ecumenical council took place. The Christian symbol of faith was accepted, and in the 12th century, the city was the capital of the powerful Byzantine Empire. The city wall has perfectly preserved, but it is good to walk carefully. The bricks are often unsteady and even fall out directly under my feet. Part of the wall is simply missing. There is neither fencing nor any prohibition sign. It means it is possible to pass here, even though it's not easy. The wall separates the city from the lands surrounding it. Now it is standing in the middle of the olive grove. Olives on the left and olives on the right. We also meet some apple trees. Food from the ground, literally speaking. We are picking fruit from under our feet. There are a lot of apples on trees, but the fallen apples are riper and more tasty. It is still summer warm in Iznik in the middle of September, but the weather has been cloudy. This is a typical Turkish breakfast. The city walls of Iznik had several gates. Best of all remained the biggest of them, the Istanbul Gate. The travelers left on a minibus to Bursa. The bus station, just as in the majority of large cities in Turkey, is in the suburbs. It is necessary to take a bus to the city center. We are going to a steam bath in the city of Bursa. We have big hopes for that steam bath, as shower is with cold water only. Everyone is on tiptoes. Bursa, the homeland of the Ottoman Empire. Many ancient mosques have remained here. A person can pay a visit only when he is pure, both in mind and in body. The Grand Mosque, or in Turkish, Ulud Zami, is in the center of the old town. The building constructed in the 14th century became the example of mosque construction around the country. There is everything here as to what has to be in the places of prayer of Muslims. The niche in the wall, decorated with 2 columns, and the arch points in the direction of Mecca. The floor is laid with a carpet, the walls with the arched windows that bring a lot of light inside and are decorated with the quotes executed in calligraphic handwriting. The Sultan Mehmed I Çelebi and also his foster mother, all daughters and one of his sons are buried in the tomb of Yeşil Türbe. The Sultan chose the place for a tomb himself in the neighborhood with a well-known green mosque of the 15th century. Yeşil Zami, or the Green Mosque, is among the most important sites of Bursa. The walls are laid in marble. On the outside, the building is not green, but white. The inside walls, however, at least partially, are decorated with actual faience tiles of green color. The bizarre fountain, cut out from a single piece of marble, can be attributed to masterpieces of Ottoman art. The entrance is allowed for tourists, regardless of their nationality and belief. At the entrance, it is necessary to remove footwear. As it often happens in most big Turkish mosques, at once there is an English-speaking local appearing, who starts explaining and showing everything. We arrived to Kütahya late at night. We decided not to go downtown in the darkness and set a tent in a field near the bus station. We always sleep well in the tent. In hotels, there is internet, all kinds of temptations, to drink or eat something, and here you come and go to bed. In the morning, it will be possible to go to the city and have breakfast there. Mercimek shorba, a dense Turkish lentil cream soup. Before eating, it is necessary to squeeze out a slice of lemon into the bowl. It is more tasty this way. Kütahya, one of the most ancient cities on the territory of Turkey. At the top of the rock, towering over the center of the old town, there are the preserved fortress ruins that existed already at the time of the Romans, the bastions, the fragments of half-collapsed walls, and most importantly, the bird's eye view over the tile roofs of old buildings that build up the center of Kütahya, also residential areas with buildings in the same type of construction. Ulu Cami, or the Great Mosque, was built in the 14th century. Then it was reconstructed several times. The best-known architect of the Ottoman Empire, Mimar Sinan, has also partaken in one of the reconstruction. Inside it, there is everything that needs to be in the typical Ottoman mosque, even the fountain with drinking water. The city of Kütahya is known to all Turkey as the production site of original ceramics. It is made here since the 14th century. Nearby, in the building of Madrasa Vadzidiye, there is one more museum, archaeological. The architectural fragments, antique statues, coins, historical documents and pots, and the star of the collection, the marble Roman sarcophagus. In the center of Kütahya, there are not so many historical sites, as it often occurs in Turkey. The central streets are occupied by shops. They are trying to surprise tourists with rather new constructions, the fountains, sculptures and souvenirs. You won't starve here too. Literally on every step of the way there are cozy cafes and small restaurants. Bakeries sell only freshly baked bread. They also offer food on the trips. On Turkish buses, passengers are offered not only drinking water, but also tea with cookies or a cake of choice. The travelers reach Çavdarhisar by regular bus, and to the ruins of the antique city of Ayzanoy they made it already by a passing tractor. From the Zeus temple of the 2nd century AD, only about 10 columns, 2 walls and a huge cellar with sarcophagus have remained. There is no roof at all. There used to be many statues in the temple, but only the statue of the ancient goddess Kibela has remained until our days. Romans could not imagine comfortable living without the possibility to frequently take a bath. The body has to be not only clean, but also healthy. A sound mind in a sound body. This one belongs to them too. Here again, directly near the baths, a huge stadium. And how is it without the spiritual development? No way. So they have constructed a theater right here too. There are many antique ruins and ancient monuments that remain on the territory of Turkey. To the most part of them, as well as to the museums, an entrance is for charge. The fees are often expensive. The Turkish Ministry of Tourism makes incredible efforts to attract, at least, part of tourists from the beach. They actively advertise the richness of historical and cultural heritage of the country. Ayzanoy used to occupy an extensive territory. Only a small part of it is dug out. Random constructions and fragments can be seen everywhere. Directly in the middle of the village, suddenly you can come across the foundation of an antique temple, and next to it, the antique street decorated with marble columns. The first data about the Afyon-Karahisar fortress refers to 1340. For the past 8 centuries since then, it was repeatedly transferred from one conqueror to another, and each one called it in their own way. The fortress received its modern name when it became part of the Ottoman Empire. Its translation from Turkish is the Opium Black Fortress, black because it was constructed of black tufa, and Afyon is in Turkish opium. It was grown here since ancient times. They continue growing it, but now under a strict control of the authorities. Mevlana's mosque is visible from the fortress that was called in honor of Zelal-ad-Din Rumi. It was the center of Dervish monastery. The Sufi order in Turkey is forbidden, and dervishes can be seen only in museums now. The two-story wooden mansions have remained in the old town. They have been gradually repaired and turned into hotels and restaurants for tourists. How do you like the tourist breakfast? Awesome! Perfect! It is nutritious and healthy. In Afyon, they love Oriental delights and know how to make them. The family of Mirimoglu makes halva, lukum, candies and baklava, the quality of the highest rank and reasonable prices. How does it taste? Delicious! It is difficult to travel hitchhiking 4 people together, but not in Turkey. Here, literally each driver tries to pick up tourists, no matter how crowded it is in the car. The extensive territory between Kütahya and Afyon is called the Phrygian Valley. It was part of antique Phrygia in ancient times. There used to be big cities and an uncountable number of settlements. Today, there are fields and Turkish villages on their places. Everything that was constructed by Phrygians has collapsed. Only the tombs, cut out in the rocky stone, have remained until our days. And that is only because they were inside the rocks, unsuitable for living. When you spend the night in a tent and travel hitchhiking, it is good to look after your appearance carefully. And cleanliness, fortunately, there is a lot of free water available in Turkey. So fellows, let's begin. It's cold. Did you think you were in a fairy tale?
В глухих сельских районах указателей на дорогах мало. Ориентироваться тяжело. Местные жители вызываются помочь. Общаться часто приходится на пальцах, но понять друг друга обычно удается.
In the deserted rural areas, there are only a few road signs. It is hard to navigate ourselves. The locals have volunteered to help. It is often needed to use body language, but it usually makes it possible to understand each other. When is it? In another 10 kilometers, we can reach it by foot. The town of Can was founded by Phrygians. The monuments to Phrygian kings and princesses were established on the central square, and in the rock in the outskirts of the town there are several remaining Phrygian tombs and the long tunnel. Look, it is at least 100 meters minimum. In Turkey, along with restaurants, there are also simple canteens. They are called lokantasi. There are only a few dishes in the menu, easy to cook and cheap. Usually it is shorba, stewed kidney beans and vegetables for meat eaters, chicken or less often, lamb. The furnishing of the place is also modest, but it is clean.
Да. Три. Да, ему не надо. Мише не давайте. Да. Вкусная курица.
There are usually no hired personnel in such establishments. It is members of one family who work here, starting from very early age. There is surely tea at the end of the lunch. There is no way without it here. Here we go. 3 of us together on the back seat. There is also a seat for a small child. 4 people squeezed into such a car. Hitchhiking 4 of us together. The backpacks are here too, as the trunk is full. It is better to ride uncomfortably for 29 kilometers than walk comfortably. When there are not many cars, it is better not to stand still waiting for a lift, but to walk. No car will pass by you. You won't even need to signal them. Once drivers notice a group of tourists on the road, they stop. We are going by truck for the next 53 kilometers. The road is absolutely empty. Judging by the sign, it is still about 13 kilometers to Balikishar village, where in the vicinity the ruins of the antique city Pesinus have remained. The places are not touristic. There are neither hotels nor restaurants. For dinner, there will be clear spring water. The tent will replace the hotel. There is neither ticket office nor security on the ruins. There is nobody here, and the gate is closed. We had to come in informally. You need to do it with all parts of the body. Even more clever. The city of Pesinus, by the legend, was founded by the mother of the famous Phrygian Tsar, Midas. The huge meteorite of a cone-shaped form used to be kept on the altar of the temple of the goddess Cybele. Later it was transferred to Rome. The city lived well without the meteorite. It was destroyed in 715 by Arabs. The excavations began in 1967 and still continues. They have already succeeded to dig out the foundations of several temples, some separate columns, and almost the whole amphitheater. After the travelers walked around the site and finished filming, the security guard has arrived. It appears the entrance fee to the ruins is free. Gate closes only for the night, so no fans of climbing the ruins would break their legs. They love tea in Turkey. They drink it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and also in intervals between them. The tea places that offer nothing else than tea are very popular here. Generally, only men go to such places. It is a rare case. There was not enough space for the 4 of us. The car body is stuffed with onions and the cabin is small. We had to split. The female part of the expedition and all 4 backpacks were sent by the truck, and Valery and Mikhail continued on foot. However, not for long. We are riding on the tractor on the way to the ruins. There is no other transport here. Gordion. Everybody who didn't sleep through their history lessons at school knows about this city. It was here where Alexander the Great of Macedonia was shown a difficult knot. At the very beginning of the 20th century, excavation works have begun. The fragments of mosaics, brick walls and tombs have been covered with a roof for protection against rain, and all of this was called the Archaeological Museum. Directly opposite to it is the barrow. There is a long tunnel leading deep inside of it. It brings you to the funeral chamber. Here, archaeologists found the tomb of the most famous Phrygian Tsar, Midasa. Ankara, the capital of Turkey. In the center, houses occupy all available territory, molding closely to each other on the hill slopes. The central hill occupies the oldest district of the city, the citadel Hisar, or the fortress. It is surrounded with a double ring of walls and was founded at the time of Hets. Most houses here were built at the time of the Ottoman Empire. They have been gradually restored and reconstructed as hotels and restaurants for tourists. The 4-story castle, located at the highest point of the fortress, at the height of 978 meters above sea level, was constructed of the stones taken on the ruins of antique buildings. There are always tourists here, but there are especially many of them before the sunset. The Temple of Augustus and Rome is the brightest monument that remained since the times of the Roman Empire. In the 5th century AD, it was reconstructed for a Christian church, and in the 15th century for the madras at the mosque of Haji Bayram. Mustafa Kemal, life years 1881 to 1938, known as Ataturk, or the father of Turks, founded the Turkish Republic on the ruins of the Ottoman Empire in 1918. He carried out the reforms aiming for democratization and Europeanization of the country. The monuments to Ataturk are in every Turkish city. Some streets and squares are named after him. The mausoleum was built in the period from 1944 to 1953. The result was the grandiose architectural complex that covers 750,000 square meters together with its surrounding park. Every year, about 3 million people come here.
Ежегодно сюда приходит около 3 миллионов человек.